So hello everyone and welcome to Quick Start Introduction to Story Bible with me, Dahlia. Here with me today are my lovely co-host Mana and Tomas, who will keep an eye on the chat and answer your questions. First of all, these Quick Start sessions are designed for those who are new to Sudowrite or are returning after a long break and want to get up to speed. Step by step, you will learn the essential basics to start using Sudowrite and its essential features. I'm very excited to walk you through how to use the Story Bible to organize your ideas, keep track of key details, and help the AI generate consistent writing for you. And so that you can focus on listening rather than rushing to take notes, I've prepared a class document with all the key information I'll be sharing today, and I will just drop the link into the chat so that you can all save it and come back to it later. Here's what to expect from today's session. After this short introduction and greeting part, we will have an overview of the Story Bible, generally talking about what it is and why it's useful. Then we'll be breaking down the Story Bible and deep dive into each section and discuss how that supports your writing. We will end with a Q&A session where you can ask all remaining questions about today's topic. So let's start with the simple question, what is the Story Bible? In short, the Story Bible is like your central tool where you can store all the essential knowledge and information about your novel. Be it characters, world building, plot outlines, and more. And you have this in one structured place. This way you can keep your ideas organized so that you or the AI don't forget important details. Personally, I feel like most of the Story Bible is more for me than it's for the AI, just so that I have a place where I can look everything up. But that you have this information helps the AI to generate more consistent and relevant writing. And it overall saves you time by keeping all your reference materials easily accessible. The Story Bible consists of several boxes that are related to each other. As you can see, this little image is a bit outdated, or let's say it's almost a year old and not 100% up to speed, since a lot of stuff has changed within Sudowrite since then. Most importantly, beats are now scenes and chapter generator is now called draft. But the way the boxes are interconnected stayed overall the same. And as this graphic shows you, there's like the ideal way to move from box to box. Like you start out with your brain dump, genre, and style. And these boxes then influence the generation of the synopsis. And based on the synopsis, you'll generate characters and world building. And outline will be influenced by genres, characters, world building, and synopsis. And then you'll move from there to the beats and the chapter, not beats, the scenes and the draft. I hope that by the next time I'll give this class, we will have an updated image provided by our dear Ryan, but he has had currently better things to do. But now that we have this little overview, let us now take a look at the Story Bible in action. This is our little example project. And the Story Bible can be enabled and disabled by toggling this little toggle. And here you have the overview of the different boxes. Some of the sections have word limits. If you click into the box, you can see here what the limits of the box are and how much you currently have inside of the box. In this case, with the brain dump, it's 2000 words. Many of the boxes have a little history feature where you can look up older versions if you have older versions and can restore them. You also have with many boxes, this neat little copy button if you want to back up the stuff inside of the box. So let's now take a look at each section in detail and look up and see how it helps develop your story. Here on top, we have the brain dump. The brain dump is kind of a free-form space to capture all of your early ideas, whether it's character ideas, plot twists, snippets of dialogue, or even just some random thoughts that you have about your story. This is where all of that belongs. As I've said before, the word limit is 2000 words, which in my experience is more than enough to capture the essence of your story in its early stages. If you're someone who has a lot of information to already bring in, it may be better to use I just quickly show you the import your novel feature so that it can filter through your information and pre-fill the story Bible for you. But in this case, I will assume that we're working on a brand new project where we just have a few ideas. And we'll start off with this new little idea. Something that's great about the brain dump is that order doesn't really matter at this stage. While structure helps the AI to be guided in the wanted direction, if you don't have like a structure in your brain yet how this should turn out in the end, you can just leave it to the AI to figure out what kind of story that could become. And even if you start out with a little pitch like this one, the AI can transform it into a fully fleshed out synopsis. And today we'll be working at the example of, you've seen the title, Timer's Love. And it's, and that's the little pitch that I came up with. It's when Mia returns to her hometown to take over her late grandmother's cafe, she unexpectedly reunites with her first love, Raphael, the boy who vanished without a trace years ago. But Raphael has changed. He no longer ages and harbors a supernatural secret. Can they overcome the past, or will this curse tear them apart again? So this isn't much, but even this short pitch is enough material to help develop the story further. Okay, so this is the basics about the brain dump. Do you have any questions so far?
Yes, she's recording, and no, there's no more question. There's no question yet.
Good. Then we'll now take a closer look at the genre and style boxes. These these are the smallest boxes in the Story Bible with only 40 words each. But don't underestimate their importance. Genre defines what story you're writing, while style determines how the story is written. To break this down a bit more, in the genre box, you can set the main genre of your story and even adjust it for specific chapters if this is needed. For example, your overall genre might be a romance, like in this case, or if you want it to be a romance. But a particular chapter might lean heavily into mystery, adventure, comedy, or any other genre or trope. And it can help to specify this in the genre box for every chapter. If you're unsure which genre fits best, don't worry, you can use the quick chat feature here in Sudowrite that you can access either with this menu or with Command K or Control K, depending on whether you're on a Mac or a PC. Then you get this little box and can ask questions about this text or your project. And this can help you figure out your genre if you're unsure yourself what would fit best. And when it comes to genre, it's better to get more specific with your genre names. And instead of just saying, we want to write a romance, you should better niche it down a bit to the specific niches and tropes you're expecting, since some very broad genre will prompt the AI to default to very cliched outputs, since it will just look at how a romance in general should look like and not how, for example, a romance with, in this case, would be a second chance romance with second chance romance. I'm not sure if you, in Germany, we like to use hyphens. I'm not sure if you need to use hyphens in English, but this also helps if you use hyphens. This is only one word. It's a neat little trick also. Like you have a second chance romance, and you have some magical realism if you don't want to go into the paranormal romance direction with the story, for example. And this way you would get results that are closer to your vision instead of something broader that you would get if you would just use romance instead. So the thing that you should remember is that you should be as specific as possible to help the AI produce more unique and to your ideas that are tailored to your vision. The style box is the next little box, and as you can see, you have 3 little buttons to choose from. First is the featured style, which can help you get started really quickly, since you can just look at what kind of story do you want to tell. Is it something that's refined and literary, or dark and foreboding, gritty or action-packed? And then you can choose this. Get here an idea what genres this style would work for, like young adult or cozy romance. And this makes the reader feel warm and fuzzy. And you will also get a little writing sample so that you get an idea what kind of output you would get using this style. And when you're starting out, I would just advise you to choose one style that works well for the genre you want to write. And then you get this output and you get an idea how the style box should be populated. And you can then also change stuff about it within the limit of the 40 words that you have. Now, if you already have some story written, you can also use the Match My Style feature. And then you would paste up to 2,000 words of your writing in there and click on Next, and it would analyze your writing and come up with a description similar to this one, but for your style. And something else to keep in mind, this style box is the last thing the AI sees before it starts writing. So it's one of, if not the most influential box So make sure that, for example, if you change POVs and you indicate this in the style box, that it's always up to date. I personally sometimes forget it, and then I'm confused why the next chapter isn't written from the POV I actually wanted it to be written from, since that if you give the AI contradicting information, that can just confuse it. So make sure this is always up to date and the way you want it. Okay. So are there any questions about genre and style?
No, everybody's
Nope.
cool.
Awesome. Awesome. Then we can go to the first box where we can really see Sudowrite's magic. Since once you have a genre and a style, I just noticed, I didn't mention this before, if you click into the box, you also see here which other boxes are influenced by your input from this box. In this case, someone has to tell Ryan that this also needs to be updated.
Good catch.
I make a little, just a little screenshot and will inform Ryan that this needs updating.
You also
Question?
have a question if you're ready.
Yeah, okay.
Tammy is asking, if you have two POV characters, how would you change the style to accommodate each of them? Each one.
Each one.
Would you use a style box, or would you choose the character, or how would you go about it?
I usually would indicate this in the character box. And depending if there are bigger changes, since I know some more like experimental fiction that, for example, has one POV is first person, the other POV is third person, another POV is second person. In that case, I would also change the style box. But if I have different POVs, I often just have some general voice, how I want the narration to sound.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will see this later in characters. You have the possibility to give information about like their voice and how they speak. And there's also the option that we could create a world building card with this information. Or there's actually a lot of places where you could add this in. You could also indicate this in the little outline box later on, since that really depends on your workflow. But I see, Manon, you have your hand raised.
Everyone has access to Muse now, right?
Yes.
It's been open to everyone. So with the new Muse and the new scene, when you have that box where you can put your the prompt or tell the AI who's speaking in that chapter is also where is the best place to put the character PO
Yes.
and all.
I just say something. So
that
I think you mean the little extra instructions box here.
Bingo.
Yeah. Since I tend to write most of my stuff with the right button, I didn't have this on as an idea on my, what's that called? Back burner. But that's, of course, also a good place to put this information. But for now, let's go back to Synopsis if there are no other questions. And I hope this answered the question.
I think we answered that question in many, many ways.
Yeah, that's something that's both great and can be something sometimes a bit overwhelming about Sudowrite, is that you can answer the same questions in many, many ways, since you can really tailor this tool to your workflow in very different ways. And in the end, with writing with AI, experimentation is key to figure out what works best for you. But not to waste any time, let's jump back to Synopsis. Now we have our little brain dump box with all the information about the story. We have a genre, and now we can go and generate our synopsis. In other words, a little summary of our story with all the important plot points and the conflicts and all that. And this time it was generating really fast. Sometimes we have to wait a bit for something to happen, but now it just did a good job. And usually, which is also something I would advise you to do, is to read through this all very carefully, everything that the AI generates, and adapt it to your liking, to make it sound more like your voice, to make sure that everything is really the way you want it to be written. But if you would actually do this now, this would take a little bit longer than an hour. So I'll just tell you that you can either do this manually, or you can use this little rewrite box to give Sudowrite instructions of how to change the synopsis. But for the sake of the demonstration, we'll just pretend that this is perfect. Yeah, I just had to make sure that the curse is broken and that they are reunited once more. Since I once had a novel with a similar premise, and for some reason, the guy that was cursed that died in the end, and I really didn't like that. But they're reunited. That's perfect. Good. So now that we have our synopsis, it's time to move to the character boxes. These character boxes are a powerful tool for creating and managing your characters. You can create up to 2,000 characters, each with 2,000 attribute fields, and up to 50,000 words per field. I'm not sure if anyone ever actually tried to max this out, but that's what the developers told us. So you have plenty of room for even the most complex stories to set them up in Sudowrite. And when I'm talking about setting this up, let's look at how we can customize the attribute fields in our templates to make them really our own and the way we need them in our stories. Now we see this I haven't counted them, probably 15 fields or something. When you start out, you have, I think you have personality, background, physical description, and the dialogue style. And all the other fields are fields that I added to this since they're helpful for my writing. And I like to have the information in my stories about all this stuff for my characters. And if you want to add a question.
Yeah, someone missed the word count in the character box field.
Character box field?
I don't think there's a maximum. I never got a maximum.
Yeah, it's Ginny, who was the developer for this, said it's 50,000 words. Like basically in every attribute field, you could put a whole novel. I honestly wouldn't do this because that's very easily overwhelming for the AI to read all this. But in theory, you could do this.
The second question is the character box can be broken down further? And that's where if I think you were, they're basically putting more customized to the character box.
yeah, you can add more fields in here. Right now, you cannot add any subfields in the fields, but since you have the ability to have up to 2000 of these attribute fields, you could have, for example, instead of physical description, a field for eye color, hair color, and whatnot. And that way you can have this very much tailored to your needs and broken it down into as many small pieces as it's helpful for you.
So do you want to answer Jacob's question? Because he wants to know if it's better to have everything in one little box or everything broken down for the AI to catch better when he's writing the story.
Oh,
If they want everything to be repeated along the prose and they put too much details in the character box, that means that the flashing blue eyes or the piercing blue
yeah.
eyes will be in every time they talk about
Yep.
their.
Yep.
So there's a good and a bad.
We'll get to how you can avoid stuff being repeated in a bit.
Mhm.
But in general, I think it's more about preferences. Since theoretically you could just have physical description and then eye color, blue, hair color, brown, or whatever listed up in this box. And I must admit, since currently we cannot import world building stuff, my world building cards are often just name of the card and then a big description box where I put in everything, since that's easier for copy pasting. But if you want to fine tune stuff and have the ability to really dial in on what you're showing to the AI and hiding from the AI, it helps to make it more detailed and have more different trait fields. I hope that answered the question.
So.
And okay, so we've covered customizing your characters. And aside from adding new traits like this, you can also, if we had characters we currently have now, like add some fields, add them to the current character and not save them, so that the added traits are unique to this project, since this defaults are for all projects, which is, I personally think it would be nice if we had a bit more control and more of different character types, and that's also planned, but for now we have one default for all projects in your Sudowrite account. And you can save them just here and go back to this here. Then if you already have characters, you can import them here. For example, if you have already written character cards or brainstormed a lot about your characters, you can just paste this in here so that all this will be analyzed by the AI, and then the character cards will be filled out. You could also download a template and fill this out and upload it to get it into the system without the AI touching anything about your characters, which is probably faster than manually going through all the fields here on the side. Okay. But we'll assume that you're starting all fresh, or let's rather say I don't have any cards for Mia or Raphael or any other possible characters. Then you can use this generate all characters button to generate your whole cast in one go. this tool uses your synopsis, or if the synopsis is empty, it would look at your brain dump. And based on this, it will generate the cast in one go. And this is something that, now that we started, may take some time. So while this is generating, we will go back. Well, where is it? We'll go back to our presentation for a moment. Yes, there's the right slide. And I'll go over this stuff while we wait for our characters to show up. So this is an overview of the default fields and traits that you will have in all cards. For one, obviously you'll have a name. Then you'll also have pronouns to clarify whether your Alex is a she, he, or they, or any other neopronoun you may want to use. In groups, you can organize your characters into families, teams, gangs, corporations, or other kind of affiliations. Other names, it's a bit covered by the dropdown, but in this other names, you can add additional identifiers for your characters, like nicknames or any kind of aliases they may be using, so that the AI knows if, for example, let's say our Raphael has a nickname like Rave, and you would put Rave in other names. Then if Mia would be talking about Rave, the AI would know, that's Raphael. We should pull in the information about Raphael. And you also have this little drop down where you can specify the role of your character in the story, whether it's the protagonist, antagonist, supporting character, a minor character, or your love interest for the story. This is not, there's not a lot of impact of this. It's just nudging the AI a bit in the right direction so that it doesn't accidentally turns your antagonist into the love interest. Though if you're writing enemies to lovers, the antagonist might be the love interest. But that way the AI has a little idea about what kind of character that is. So we have talked about this, and now let's see if our cast is ready. And there they are. We have our Mia Montgomery, Rafael Garcia, and like Martha, which was likely the grandmother. Right, it was the grandmother's cafe. Passed away in her mid-70s. And some other characters for our cast. And there are quite a few characters, considering that I believe the synopsis only mentioned Mia and Raphael by name, and that there was a grandmother. Yeah. So it had also filled out all the cards. If you now look through this and see that there's a character missing, you can just generate a single character, filling out all the instructions, like you want a best friend for Mia or a rival for Raphael or whatever you feel is missing. Or you can also add an empty card if you want to fill out the card by yourself. And looking at the different attributes, if you feel like something doesn't quite fit the story you want to write, you can use this little rewrite feature and tell Sudowrite how to rewrite the trait field. You can also always add new traits here with stuff like whatever you can think of, and then you'll get this little fill this in. When you click this, you also have the option to give it some additional instructions. Then you can go and it will fill the trait field in for you. Aside from this, you also, there's already there. It's driven by a deep desire to honor her grandmother's legacy. That's good. So it looks at the same information that generate characters would look at, and at the context from the card, of course. As you can see here, you can decide whether a card will be used or not. If you put this on never, the AI won't know about this. This is very good if you have any kind of secret that you do not want to be spoiled by the first chapter, because the AI looked at it and was like, we should bring this up in the first sentence, which sometimes happened, though it got a bit more intelligent in the last years. So you can hide the fields or set them to automatically. And you can also do the same with the whole card. If, for example, you want to make sure that no information about a character is pulled in, since something you also have to keep in mind when it comes to names, the AI will pull in Mia Montgomery whenever Mia or Montgomery is in the prompt. But that means that the whole information about Martha Montgomery will also be pulled in whenever you have Montgomery in your prompt. So if you want to either hide spoilers or just save credits, you can hide these cards by putting them to never. I think that was the most important stuff about characters. Are there any questions?
I think we catch them all. If there's more question, just raise your hands or put it in the chat. And are we okay?
No. Looks okay. We're just good. We are good in the good timing right now. So this is everything important about characters. And now let's move on to world building. World building, as the name already suggests, is a feature that allows you to create and save detailed information about your story's world. This is where you can bring in stuff like setting, culture, history, lore, and more. For example, you have some default predefined categories, like here, lore, or clue, magic system, item. And in general, also setting is one of those, but you also have the ability to customize stuff. And once you customize a card, like setting in this case, it would move to this little section of custom cards, so that you know which cards you have touched upon and which are still the way they were originally as given you as a default. And here in Customize, you can, for one, customize all the, this is German. Let's go with like all the custom cards you came up with, or the other. It's very similar to working with characters, actually. If you want to create a new custom thing, you can just go to custom, or you can just type in there something. Now I can think of something interesting for this setting.
You can fantasy world maybe, and what's in it, things like that.
Ah, yeah, if we were fantasy world, like for fantasy
Well, you
world.
write for children, so you need a special card for just children books.
Yeah, you have various ways for this. Like here, you could have something, you have a fantasy world, and then you have the history of the world. You can add like the magic system or something like that. And Tomas, I see your hand.
Yeah, someone raised a good question. As long as you're doing the customized world building, can you show someone how to do a chapter glue card?
Yes, we will. I just will just save our little fantasy worlds card. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, yeah. Oh good. Fantasy worlds is saved. Now it's here. And I already have this little chapter glue card here. And I will just click on this. A chapter glue is like there's something that glues chapter together. It's like information about past chapters so that the AI has the context, because right now the AI only knows what's in the document you're currently working in. So what's in past chapters, it has no knowledge of. And you can use a chapter glue card to store this information and to call upon it in instructions or prompts. And I usually give this to save characters a short name like CG for chapter glue. And then once I've written my chapter, I either use a plugin for this, or, which we will also see later, there's an update chapter feature in the outline, and put the updated chapter summary in this card, in this trait field. And I like to have one trait field per chapter. In general, you could also just have a chapter glue card and then it's chapter glue and you just add on to it. But I like to have different characters, since sometimes if you have different POVs, a character may not know what happened in chapter 2. So that way I can make sure that this context that also the character doesn't know can be hidden from the AI. That would be the little run through chapter glue. I hope this helped answer the question. This is how I would do this. And then we would put this, look, in this, for example, in this extra instructions. Like, now I'm blanking on the right English words for like something like what happened before, and then
Like summarize
summarize.
or recap?
Recap is a good thing. Recap, and this is the recap of what the story so far, and then you just can read this and knows, this is what happened so far and the context that I should keep in mind. Are there any more questions about chapter glue?
It looks good.
Okay, good. Then yeah, we don't really need this right now. Oh, this is also nice. Once you delete something, it will show up in the trash. And I just see there's also something else in the trash. I don't know what that is. So we're not looking into this right now. Maybe it's not safe for recording. But you can look in the trash and get everything out if you accidentally delete something. So with world building right now, you cannot import or export world building. So the only option is to generate element for element. For example, here we would create a setting. Like Mia's hometown, we would go like go, and it would start generating the element. And overall, it works a lot like characters. You also have the other names, if you've seen with the chapter card, and you can also hide cards. You can here hide the card or the traits, or you can rewrite them just the same as it is with characters. It's very similar in the way it works. Now we have covered world building. Are there any remaining questions about world building before I move on to outline? Okay, it doesn't sound like there are questions. So now that we've covered characters and world building, the next step is the outline. The outline helps you to organize the structure of your story and give you a solid foundation for your narrative. You also have the option to import an outline if you already have one. That's, by the way, you do not have to let Sudowrite generate anything for you. If you already have the stuff, you can just copy and paste it in. Just wanted to be organized by this. And the same as with the outline, you can import it either as a file or just paste it in there. You can also manually add the chapters and acts, and you can also say where in the story this should be added. Right now it's a bit short because you only have at the end and at the beginning as an option, but once you have several chapters, you can specify behind after which chapter it should be. When you want to generate an outline, you can click on this little arrow, and then you can choose an outline type. You have 5 outline types you can choose from. First is novel outline, which is very focused on a genre-specific structures and works well for any kind of novel. The hero's journey is perfect for the classic hero's journeys as you commonly known from fantasy or adventure stories. Like in this example, you also have this little examples here. It's Hunger Games or Matrix or Star Wars. That's our classic hero's journey stories. Hollywood Beats is very similar to the plot-driven method like Save the Cat. It's a lot like how Hollywood Beats already suggest, like Hollywood movies in the way it's structured. And the examples given here are Forrest Gump or Up and Toy Story, standard stuff like this. Story Circle is very good for shorter stories or episodic formats since it has this circular narrative structure. I think Oz is a very good example for this, like with Dorothy, since she basically ends up, she has her journey and ends up where she was in the beginning, but is changed. Then we have also the romance up. Oh, Thomas, I saw your hand is risen.
Yeah, there's a question. Do you know if outline import will it also take a CSV file?
I'm not sure. I haven't tried this yet.
Just click on custom outline and see what it does say.
Yeah, I was just testing it. It exports a CSV.
Yeah, it export.
And it
In
looks like
general,
it
it should
only
take
does.
one as well. It should take
Oh,
it.
it takes docs too. Oh.
Yeah, you can basically put everything in there.
But export
That's
a
named here.
CSV.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure doc and paste is the most common type of import, but it says it does all those
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I usually just am lazy and paste everything in here. But let's get back here. We were here with this romance outline, which is obviously great for romance stories. And it loosely follows the romance, the beat framework. For this story, you would go with the romance outline, but you can also use custom outline. And in here, you can essentially you could also put your outline in there that you want to import. If you want it to be like if it's not complete, it helps to put it in there to have it fill. But that's in it. Well, help me to have it concluded like the story if it's not a finished outline yet. Or you could put in any other instructions for an outline system that you may be using that's not in here. Like I think there's like there are like the tons of different plot outline types. Like for example, there's also the heroine's journey that you could just paste in there. Or you can come up with your own kind of outline that you always want to follow for your books.
Yeah, I put in the cat type, and that worked really well. Say the cat format.
It's really great tool to have the control over the kind of outline for your story that you want to have. But for this example, we just stick with romance and put in here. And we'll go generate. And since this is also one of those features that can take a while to generate, we'll hop over to a presentation for a bit that should update to, yes, outline, structuring your story. Once the generation of the outline is finished, you will get a screen with in Act 1 and little boxes for each chapter. And in these boxes, there's the summary of your chapter. And you will have this for, usually I think it's somewhere between 20 and 25 chapters, depending on the outline method you chose. When you click on the little buttons, you get the ability to create a chapter 1 document, to rewrite the chapter if you don't like the summary that you've got, or to rename the chapter. You can also just click in here to rename it. And you can either create a chapter here or here. And once you have a document, like a chapter document, let's see. Okay. The stuff in this little menu changes the options. For once, you get the information that you have a document linked. That's your chapter 1 or whatever the document is called. And as I've mentioned when we were talking about chapter 2, you have the ability to update the chapter. And when you click this, it will read the linked document and update the summary. This is very useful if you are like me and you tend to diverge from your original chapter summary quite a bit while you're writing. And this way you can keep sure that the outline is always up to date This is some of the stuff you can do with the little chapters. Let's see if we have an outline. We don't have an outline. Why don't we have an outline? Manon, you raised your hand.
You 2 minutes to the hours.
For whatever reason, it didn't generate our outline. But otherwise, we would actually be through with everything if we had an outline. But sadly, we don't. I'm not sure why this didn't work. We just can have it run again. And since we only have 2 minutes left, this is the perfect time for you to ask your questions.
Dahlia?
While we wait for, yeah, yes.
When you do upload character card, I know you do the export import. Is there some time that the your story Bible drops or missing a lot of information? Do you have any tricks on how to do that? I use the docx from Google. What do you use?
When I oh, I'm a bit worried to go away from this now, but
Sorry.
usually I just where am I? We have so many characters. Usually when I just go, I really just paste the information in here. I haven't worked much with actual using documents for this, since it's most reliable for me when I just paste the stuff in. So I'm not sure how to fix this with the stuff not loading the way it should. Oh.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you're doing your like characters or any of your world building and you customize it, and then is it best to go in if you're in the story to use maybe you the customize I know carries over, but what if you decide to like want to put something specific, is it better to go back and edit the customization or just add it in as like part of the story? Or you should always go back and customize it across?
If it's just relevant for the story, I would just put it into this specific story. You can always go and
I'm
just,
sorry, that was the alarm.
no problem. You can always just go and add it as a trait if it's relevant to a character, if it's oh, we got our outline, hooray. If it should be pulled in later in the story, add it as a trait somewhere where it fits in. But
So
you don't.
it doesn't matter if you use the trait by itself or go in and customize it all together. Customize the actual car, the actual
Yeah, you only need to customize there's also something nice thing you can close these cards, then there's not so much scrolling. But I would only change stuff here if I want this to apply to either every character in the project. For example, if I want, I don't know, something simple like I want a field for eye color for every character, then I would add this here and add it to current characters. And then it should pop up at the bottom of every card. And if I don't want this to carry over to all projects, I would just close it. And otherwise, if it's something that's only relevant for one, you see, we have our eye color card. If it's only relevant for one story and maybe not for all characters in the story, I wouldn't change it in the customize. I would just add the traits separately.
okay, that's good enough.
Okay.
Do characters, are they shared between projects in a series?
Yes, yes.
Oh, great.
Characters and world building is shared, and also the outlines. So we could we are on the hour, but that doesn't take that much time, so we just create a little series folder, call it timeless. Not very innovative. And then you would drop this in here. And then, yes, Nada?
So the person is asking about the character if it works in series. If you have a character and they belong to a book and it's well described, I'm going to put in the chat what that look like. In the bottom of your character box, you will see the book it belongs to.
Yep, we can see this here. We're now in book 2, and here you see
Timeless
this character was created in Timeless Love. You see this for word building as well. That way you can easily at least make sure from what book on it was mentioned. And for the outline, you can have this drop down where you can look up the outline from the book before if you just want to look up something for context, and switch over to your second book. And the second book outline takes the outline of the first book into account when you generate the outline. Therefore, it's important to make sure that the order of series is correct. I mean, right now it's not so difficult because we only have 2 projects, but if it's a more complex thing, it's
like
important
50.
to make sure that
That's
it is.
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have, there we have it. We have completed our story Bible. And just let's say we're a bit over the hour. We're just so that you see how this works. If you create this chapter, you get our little scenes, and you can generate a scene for your chapter if you want to use this draft feature. That's one way you can continue now that you have a full story Bible. And this is the newest one. And generate scenes and then work with this. Oh, let's do it. And this way you can write your whole chapter in one go. Since this is very new, there hasn't been much demonstration of this in classes yet, but there has been a class covering this at the end of February, one of Nicole's sessions in the beginner series. I think Stacy and Harper were also there, but I'm not 100% sure. But at least this session is up on her YouTube, Nicole's YouTube, and you can look up how everything works in there. I just dropped the link at our intro. Oh, no. The intro to scenes. But in general, it creates like this little scenes for your story. You can give extra instructions, and then you can generate the story in one go with one of the, with Muse or another model, in short. The other option is working with the write button, which is a bit better suited if you're a pantser or want to do a lot of your writing yourself. And I'll be teaching a dedicated class on the write button in 2 weeks on Sunday, and probably the same time with daylight savings. I'm not sure if it actually worked out with the timing, but we'll be continuing with this project in there. So if you want to know more about Mia and Raphael, I would be happy if you'd show up and join me for this class as well. So we are a bit over the hour, but this is your last chance to ask further questions.
Someone wants to know what dedicated class you were just talking about a few minutes ago, or was it scenes?
There's the one that I'll be giving will be about the right button. The one I shared in the chat was about scenes. I'm not sure when there will be a dedicated class about scenes again, but I
actually think the schedule's behind. There's hardly anything on the schedule for the next week. And
yeah,
I know
it's a bit.
I know Tabitha asked like 3 times on Friday to get put on there for Monday, and she still isn't on the class list for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a bit
Yeah, we have
like
problems.
I don't
yep.
see your class.
Hmm?
I don't see it. I saw one class, but it was in German.
Yeah, that's the
We have one on the
next.
16th. That's time management author with you, Dahlia.
Yeah, this is with
We have
me.
one
It
on
should
the
be the week
15th.
after. I'm not sure if it's up on Luma yet, since we're also. Okay. We're all missing Michael, but he deserved his holiday. But and Michelle's also doing a great job. But I can
Oh, yeah, that's
look it
very.
up on Luma if I find.
Next class is basically your class. So tomorrow they don't show the plugin class is not there.
Yeah,
Let's check on Discord. Did someone check on Discord?
that's just Luma. What's that? Sorry for. Okay, this. Yeah, I think a few classes are missing that should be there. But anyway, this. Oh no, not. Where's it? Yeah. Hey, it's down. It's very much down there. This was the class I was talking about.
Discord is the same thing than Luma, so it's not helping.
Yeah. But yeah. But anyway, it's this class. I just dropped the link in the
You're going to use the same story
chat.
process?
Yeah, I'll be using the same story, so we have a little
Okay.
continuity.
Okay.
Yeah, Muse class. Oh no, that was yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. So if there are no further questions, I would like to say first, thank you to my co-hosts for their great support today. I couldn't do this without you, Thomas and Manon. So thanks a lot. And also a big thank you to all of you for your curiosity and engagement in this lesson. And if you have a moment, please leave a rating and review to help us know what's working, what we can improve in this class. And I wish you happy writing and hope to see you again soon.